Welcome to today's Brand Origin Deep Dive. You've heard of the name. It's synonymous with computing itself. But do you know how a quiet gamble in a forgotten room and a seemingly simple contract laid the groundwork for a global empire? If you find value in this kind of storytelling, consider liking the video and subscribing. It helps more than you know. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, or share your earliest memory of interacting with this brand. Let's dive in and discover how it all began. You step into a room that feels forgotten, air heavy with the scent of old paper and ozone. This isn't a public archive, but something deeper, shielded. Dust motes dance in the single shaft of light filtering through a high, grimy window. On a heavy wooden table sits a document, brittle and yellowed. The original agreement between IBM and a fledgling company called Microsoft. You trace the faded ink, the formal language feeling almost alien now, like reading code from the 70s. It's here, buried in the dry legal language, the seed of everything that followed. Microsoft, then a small player, agrees to provide the operating system for IBM's revolutionary personal computer. It feels less like a contract and more like a whispered promise made under the vast shadow of Big Blue. A critical clause, overlooked by many at the time, a quiet permission granted in the shadow of IBM's immense power. It granted Microsoft a non-exclusive license to sell that same operating system, MS-DOS, to other hardware manufacturers. Analysts continue to question the reasoning behind IBM's apparent oversight, a decision that essentially armed their future competitors. Brand historians still debate whether IBM simply underestimated the operating system's value, or if it was an acceptable risk given their focus on hardware margins. You feel the weight of this document, the tangible echo of their most critical early move, acquiring a system called QDOS just weeks before the IBM deadline. A quick, opportunistic purchase that felt almost like buying a lottery ticket on a hunch. The silence in the room feels less like emptiness and more like potential energy, coiled and waiting. This document isn't just history, it's the echo of a gamble. You lean closer, the smell of aged glue from the binding reaching you. A faint, almost metallic tang hinting at the circuits and machines yet to be built, yet to clash. Building on the foundation of that initial, sometimes cautious collaboration, a divergence begins to form. While IBM doubles down, focusing on the robust enterprise future they see solidified in OS/2, you see Microsoft's gaze drifting sideways. Whispers echo from the West Coast, tales of revolutionary graphical interfaces pioneered at Xerox PARC and refined by Apple. This is a new frontier, vastly different from the command line interface that dominates the computing world. Microsoft takes its first hesitant steps into this alien territory. You witness the birth of early Windows versions, 1.0 through 3.x. These aren't sleek machines. They are often perceived as clunky imitations, their blocky visuals a stark contrast to Apple's polished interface. The constant whirring and clicking of floppy drives underscore the laborious nature of running these nascent GUIs. This push towards a graphical future creates friction within the shared OS/2 development. The tension is palpable in meeting rooms, creative disagreements bubbling over strategic misalignments. The joint venture over OS/2, once a symbol of partnership, now feels like a crucible forging rivals. The emotional shift from collaboration to outright friction marks a clear turning point. Brand historians still debate whether the OS/2 partnership was doomed from the start. given the fundamental differences in each company's long-term vision. Microsoft's experimental nature, its willingness to stumble into the GUI world, feels fundamentally different from IBM's structured approach. A new motif emerges here, perhaps a persistent graphical glitch or an error sound from those early Windows attempts. It symbolizes the instability, the hurried nature of this innovation. It reminds you that this wasn't a smooth transition, but a series of tentative, sometimes painful steps. The unraveling of the OS2 partnership becomes inevitable, foreshadowing the open, direct conflict that lies just around the corner. As explored in the previous phase, the divergence between their paths wasn't just a fork in the road. It escalated into outright war. This section is titled "The Sound of Battle," and it centers on the intense, no-holds-barred competition between Microsoft's surging Windows 3.1 and IBM's technologically ambitious OS2 warp. You witness the battle unfold in real time, the aggressive marketing campaigns drowning out everything else, the pointed accusations of unfair software bundling by Microsoft to hobble competitors, and the raw, visceral struggle for every percentage point of market share. It's a period defined by relentless pressure and often aggressive, sometimes cynical, tactics from both sides. The key historical turning point here is Windows 3.1 securing undeniable dominance in the crucial consumer space. Even as many tech purists argued that OS2 Warp was the technically superior operating system, offering true, preemptive multitasking and greater stability. Sensory details immerse you in this conflict. You hear the distinctive, almost celebratory, startup chime of Windows 3.1, a sound that would become instantly recognizable, contrasted with the visual and auditory noise of competing ad campaigns screaming for your attention. You feel the evolving tactile experience of navigating these graphical interfaces with a mouse and keyboard, still relatively new for many. The emotional landscape shifts to one of intense pressure and paranoia. Strategic decisions felt less like business choices and more like life or death maneuvers. The symbolic motif of the graphical glitch or error sound from Act 2 becomes more prominent now. IBM's countermarketing subtly, or not so subtly, uses imagery or sounds reminiscent of system errors to mock Windows' perceived instability. Or maybe you just feel that underlying instability in Windows 3. 1. A hidden fragility beneath the polished surface, a quirky detail often overlooked, is just how much Microsoft prioritized compatibility with existing, often messy, DOS applications over technical elegance, a strategic move OS2 initially struggled with. Analysts continue to question the reasoning behind IBM's initial focus on technical purity that alienated developers and users accustomed to DOS. Looking ahead, this brutal fight hints clearly at the enormous undertaking Microsoft was already planning, a move aimed not just at winning a battle, but achieving complete desktop domination. The brand shifts inward, into the chaotic pressure cooker of Project Chicago, the internal codename for what would become Windows 95. You witness the sheer, almost reckless ambition to build a truly modern, user-friendly operating system from the ground up, integrating disparate technologies like networking and plug-and-play into a cohesive whole. The air in the development labs hums with servers, thick with the smell of stale pizza, punctuated only by the relentless click of keyboards late into the night. Tired eyes glow in the monitor light, fueled by caffeine and a mix of exhaustion, electric excitement, and gnawing dread. Building something this immense could fail spectacularly. This was the crucible, marked by late nights, conflicting visions, and terrifying near failures. Imagine stumbling upon a discarded fragment of an internal memo. Critical bug. System instability post-Sound Blaster driver install. Random blue screens 30% of time. Priority 1. Build 388. Dev anonymous. This captures the constant battle against chaos. Brand historians still debate whether the aggressive timeline forced critical compromises on stability during this phase. The symbolic glitch and flicker from earlier versions are still present, but now they are being hammered, refined, forced into the distinct shapes of the Windows 95 interface. The Start button, the taskbar, suggesting order being forged from the raw, chaotic energy. This intense period was the major historical turning point, where the foundation for mainstream graphical computing was truly laid, setting the stage for its imminent explosion onto the global stage. August 24th, 1995, the day arrives. You feel the tremor in the air, a palpable shift happening across the globe. This isn't just a software release, it's a cultural phenomenon erupting. The launch of Windows 95 is unprecedented, a marketing blitzkrieg led by the Rolling Stones' iconic "Start Me Up" blaring from every conceivable outlet. The sheer scale of the event is staggering. Lines around the block, midnight sales, the world seemingly stopping to witness Microsoft's unveiling. When you finally hear that distinct, polished 5-second startup sound, it's more than just audio. It's the confirmation of a new era. The visual presence of the Windows 95 box and logo is suddenly everywhere, unavoidable. The impact is immediate and overwhelming. Public adoption is rapid, a swift, brutal revolution in the consumer OS space. This isn't just winning the OS/2 war, it's a total rout. IBM, with its long history and earnest efforts, is suddenly relegated to the background, watching its market share evaporate. At Microsoft, the feeling is overwhelming triumph. A culmination of years of work and massive risk. At IBM, it's profound defeat. A historical moment accelerating past them before their eyes. Brand historians still debate whether IBM could have realistically countered the cultural wave Windows 95 generated, regardless of OS/2's technical merits. And while the polished, confident Windows 95 interface seems to have banished the glitchy flickers of the past, a subtle echo remains. Like that infamous moment during the launch demo when Bill Gates and Jay Leno witnessed a blue screen of death. A phantom flicker in the corner of your eye suggests the vanquished rival and hidden struggles still linger beneath the surface of this victory. You stand in the quiet room again, the dust motes still dancing, but the air feels different now, heavier with the weight of consequence. The faded contract lies on the table, less a relic of the past and more a key to understanding the present. Windows 95 wasn't just software, it was a cultural earthquake, redefining how millions interacted with technology, laying the foundation for the digital world you navigate today. Its success wasn't just market dominance. It was the result of a relentless, sometimes ruthless, strategic war fought in boardrooms, development labs, and advertising agencies. The sounds of that era, the startup chime, the whirring modem, the click of the mouse, echo in digital memory, tinged with nostalgia for some, a distant drumbeat of obsolescence for others. As explored in earlier phases, this triumph wasn't without its hidden history. Beneath the polished surface, a story of the struggle remains, the echoes of IBM's forgotten efforts, the sacrifices made in the crucible of Project Chicago, the faint, phantom flicker of those early glitches representing the inherent instability and hurried evolution of technology itself. Microsoft's victory was absolute in its time, establishing the modern desktop paradigm we still see mirrored in interfaces today. Yet absolute power invites scrutiny. This market dominance became a major historical turning point, leading eventually to protracted antitrust battles in the late 90s and early 2000s. New rivals like Linux and the web browser as a platform, and the perpetual need for Microsoft to reinvent itself. Analysts continue to question the long-term implications of the strategies employed during this era, particularly regarding the tight integration of the browser and OS. Is this story simply about how one company crushed another? Or is it a deeper narrative about ambition, adaptation, the hidden costs of innovation, and the way history is written not just by those who build, but by those who strategize, adapt, and sometimes betray? You look at the contract one last time. The story isn't over. It's simply transformed. The shadow of that old blue and green logo still cast, waiting for the next chapter, the next pivot, the next mystery hidden beneath the surface of the familiar. As we slow down the rhythm and tone of our journey, we're left with the lingering echo of Windows 95, a sound that shaped a generation's digital fluency. The key takeaway isn't just that a product launched, but that a phenomenon was unleashed, proving that accessible design and aggressive marketing could make complex technology a household tool. The long-term legacy is evident in every point-and-click interface, every taskbar, every file explorer window you open today. Its cultural symbolism runs deep, representing a pivotal moment when computing transitioned from the domain of experts to the hands of the masses, a digital frontier opening up in suburban homes. The lessons learned from this story are complex. The power of vision, the necessity of adaptation, the ethical tightrope walked by dominant players, and the undeniable fact that even behind the most polished interfaces lie tales of struggle, sacrifice, and hard-fought battles. It's a reminder that innovation isn't linear, and history isn't always written by the easiest narrative. And maybe, just maybe, the soul of a brand is never in its product, but in the people, stories, and stumbles that shape it.